Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom.
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Tim, Mark, Phil. This is very important. You have to get the little girl a new unicorn toy.
Eh? Papoy? Akala na papoy. No. Papoy. Ah, papoy.
Hey, a toy.
Papoy.
Go, and hurry.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. I'm Stuart.
And I'm Andrew. I got my name right this week.
Yeah, I got that message on Twitter saying that somebody was laughing their head off that you got your name wrong. Yeah, it's Andrew's birthday as well.
Oh, yes, thank you.
I don't know if you wanted me to mention that.
No, not really.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's your birthday and lots of films to review. They are.
We have Gru is back with lots of his minions in Despicable Me 2. We have a comedy from Seth Rogen and others in This Is the End. Jason Statham is in Hummingbird. You have the comedy stylings of Christopher Walken and Al Pacino in Stand Up Guys. And we have a thriller, eco thriller in the East.
Yeah, as usual, we have the UK box office top 10 and movie news. If you listen to us live in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the chat box, so join us in the chat box. I am trying to speak as fast as we can, because we've got 5 films to review, a bit of news, and the box office top 10, so let's kick off with the news. You can go first. Okay,
I've only got a couple of pieces here, so I'll be quick as possible, especially over the first one, which is that Liam Neeson is rumoured to have signed a deal worth approximately $20 million to appear in a third Taken movie. I really can't be bothered commenting on any more than that because it's just blah. Really.
It's just more Taken. It's like when you heard that there was going to be a third Hangover film.
I did have a witty thing that I'd written out, basically saying about there's no word on a plot yet, but I mean that's going to be no different in the second one. So, exactly. And my other piece of news is that website Deadline has reported that Julianne Moore is in early talks to appear in the final 2 Hunger Games movies. Both of which will be a 2-part adaptation of the final book, Mockingjay. If so, the actors will likely be going in front of cameras soon, since the first part of Mockingjay has already got a release date by Lionsgate of November 2014, with the second part to be released November 2015. And then, of course, you have, coming up November this year, is Catching Fire, the second film in series.
Any word of character? No.
There was mention, I don't have it here, but there was mention of her being the Chancellor or so, I think. So I don't know if that may be spoilers over a character who may be departing in the next book or in the next film.
Well, a lot of people have read the book, so maybe...
I haven't, actually, but I have all 3 of them as well. And I got them intending to try and read them before the films, and I've just not had a chance.
Yeah, I've still yet to read Hunger Games. I said I was going to read it, and I've never read it. Right, my news. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Sony have entered final negotiations to the film rights of the 90s cartoon Captain Planet and the Planeteers. The original show centered on 5 young characters who had magical rings to protect the world.
I actually have the theme tune in my head, and I'm not gonna sing it for you.
Yeah, I had the theme tune in my head as soon as I saw this news story as well. I used to watch this show on a Saturday morning on ITV.
Yeah, I can remember watching it. And it wasn't, for a kids' cartoon show, it wasn't bad. But it did have that thing of let's do this and make sure that nobody gets killed. Which, looking back at it, fair enough as a kid, but looking back at it, you go, yeah, that's just...
It's going to make a bit of a boring film, isn't it? Okay, yeah.
So what are they going to do for a real-life looking Captain Planet? Because the guy was blue with kind of green tattoos and stuff on his face and things. He looked like an alien Mohican or something.
I think they're actually going to make it animated. So stick with the animation feel. Whoopi Goldberg did a voice of a character in it, and she was replaced. And there was loads of other actors who did voices in it. So it's going to be like the Smurfs.
Oh God, I hope not.
Yeah, there's a Smurfs 2 coming out this year as well.
Not it.
Channing Tatum has said he may direct the sequel to Magic Mike, with original director Steven Soderbergh set to be the director of photography. I said director a lot there. Tatum told The Hollywood Reporter, either Reed Carolyn, who's his producing partner, and I will direct it together, there's the word direct again, or we'll have Greg Jacobs direct. Damn it! I really should vet my news stories that I write out.
I'm going to go back over this and get one of those bells and ding it every time you say the word direct.
Well, it was just in what he was saying. He's worked as a producer on the 2012 movie and has been Steven's right-hand man for almost 25 movies, which he directed. I added that at the end there.
Yeah. No, I mean, I heard about this and I was surprised as well. He did mention that because Steven Soderbergh has said that he's not going to direct films anymore, but no, so that means he's going to go on to do like director of photography and things like that, yeah. I guess. So he'll still get involved. He won't be able to stay away.
No, he won't be.
I will say that as long as they come up, because I think Channing Tatum had a role involved in writing of Magic Mike. So if he keeps up the same kind of thing with the first one, I don't mind that. I thought Magic Mike was a perfectly good film.
Yep. According to Variety, Legendary Pictures has ended its partnership with Warner Brothers. The company has been involved in the majority of Warner's superhero movies, but have now entered talks with Universal, Sony, and 20th Century Fox, who are going to be called 21st Century Fox. According to the reports, the reason for the split is that Legendary Pictures wants more control on their future projects, and is rumoured that Legendary CEO Thomas Tull was unhappy that they only received 25% of the profits of Dark Knight Rises.
Well, I don't know how that works out, but I mean, what did they put into it? Did they put in more than 25% of what it costs to do it?
I don't know.
If they put in more than that, then fair enough, they should get more of that. If they only put in about 20-25%, then they shouldn't complain. The film made God knows how much.
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't divulge that, I don't think.
Mm.
Two quick pieces of news here. According to the Los Angeles Times, Brad Copeland has been hired to pen the script for the new Knight Rider movie for the Weinstein Company. Copeland has previously done the TV series Arrested Development and The In-Betweeners, as well as movies including Wild Hogs and the Yogi Bear film.
No, I think that's a franchise that needs to be allowed to die.
Yep. And the last piece of news, it's not news per se, but I just like this. In an interview with Yahoo Movies, Joss Whedon was asked which Marvel character he would like to bring to the big screen after Avengers, and his answer was an interesting one. Whedon told them, "I think it's time for the Howard the Duck reboot that nobody expects. Whether this will come to light remains to be seen."
I'm one of these people who actually likes Howard the Duck, and I have Howard the Duck on DVD, I think, as well. I did pick it up somewhere.
Yeah, I quite liked Howard the Duck as well.
It's weird, it's quirky, it's terrible in parts, but it's equally just stupid fun as well.
Yeah, it is. We're probably going to get a lot of hate messages now saying that we quite liked Howard the Duck.
No, we have got Dalek in the live chat though saying, please no Team Knight Rider. Oh yes, definitely no, that was awful.
Actually, nothing to do with Knight Rider full stop.
Yeah. No, except for the original, all of the series that have been, and there's been some TV films, they're terrible. They are terrible.
Yep, UK box office top 10 then.
Number 10, The Great Gatsby, which you still haven't seen yet, have you?
No, I have no intentions to see it until it comes out on DVD.
Well, I thought you were going to try and see it. I thought your local was maybe going to show it.
No, I couldn't get to see it.
Okay. Well, I thought it's really good. I mean, it's Baz Luhrmann's adaptation of it. Really good performances in it. Leonardo DiCaprio is the one that shines most in it, and it's worth seeing for the performances and see it in 3D. Do see it in 3D.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing to comment on that. I was waiting on something being said about the 3D. No.
No, next. We haven't got time to faff around, so next.
Number 9's Fast and Furious 6.
Said everything we've said about the film. It's good, but not as good as the fifth one.
Number 8 is Before Midnight,
which is third in the trilogy of the Before series after Before Sunrise and Before Sunset, which I made a bit of a mistake in the description when I put it up on the site itself. This is by Richard Linklater, and it's set, each film has got a 7-year gap, but we haven't seen it yet. I haven't even actually seen any of the films in the Before series, but they're supposed to be top of their game, actually, when it comes to drama.
Number 6 is... Sorry, skipping number 7, which is Epic.
Which you should have skipped it because it's not epic, it's boring.
Yeah. And number 6 is Snitch.
Which I agree with Andy, because I watched Snitch after Andy reviewed it last week. I agree with the fact that it is Dwayne Johnson's best acting. He does his best with the role that he's given, but it's a very average film. It's not too bad, but it's a bit hit and miss, more so miss than it is hit.
And number 5 is The Hangover Part 3.
Rubbish.
Just rubbish, yeah.
Yeah.
And number 4 is Behind the Candelabra.
Which, surprisingly, it keeps creeping up the chart. That's because the fact that no film below number 3 is actually taken more than £500,000. But still, it's nice to see that a film like this is done well over here in the UK, and it's showing that it should have been released in the cinemas in the US and not just thrown straight on HBO.
And number 3, still hanging in there, surprisingly, is After Earth.
That's because it's only taken £422,000 and it wasn't very much actually going up against it. So I've yet to see After Earth. I don't have any intentions to see it.
Yeah, I honestly don't think it's worth seeing. I mean, it is worth seeing for the big screen, to see it on the big screen, but that's it, because it's just, it doesn't have enough in it, really, to make it justify it. Number 2 is World War Z, new entry.
Yeah, it's taken a really difficult book to turn it into a film. They had a good crack at it and did a really good job. The last 25 minutes feel like it's from a completely different movie. And if you read the turmoil which went with the film, the fact that it had to be rewritten, etc., by Damon Lindelof, you can obviously see why. But it's a really good film. I probably would have preferred more gore in it, considering that it is a 15. And if you're going for a 15 certificate, just use the 15 certificate to its best of its abilities, rather than just teeter on the edge of a 12 here. But I quite liked it.
Which means soaring high above in the clouds, staying there, is Man of Steel at number 1.
Yeah, I thought it was good, but I think that's probably a high end for me when it comes to superhero movies, because I'm not a huge superhero movie fan, and when I say a superhero movie's good, it's probably the best it's going to get for me. It's the second best superhero movie I've seen in the last 5 years.
I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I love it as, for me, the best Superman adaptation that we've seen in film. And Mark from Following the Nerd, I was talking with him on his show on Thursday night. He was agreeing with me about it. He loved it as much as I did, I think.
Yeah, but I think Mark is a bit of a superhero nerd anyway, so... Right, that's it for the UK box office top 10. I'm not going to play an ad break. I am going to play a clip from Despicable Me 2, which we are going to review after this clip. This will get stuck in your brain and you will hate me forever.
Ba 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 na na. Ba 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 na na. Oh, ba 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 na na. Ba 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 na na na. Ba 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 na na. Tokari no potato rika ni malo manika no tika. Ba 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 na na. Yo plano fu, la mano no tu. Na banana la camo pitala mo banana. Ba 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 na na. Potato. Banana tokari no potato rika ni malo manika no tika. Ba 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 banana.
Oh, Despicable Me.
So let's get into the review of Despicable Me 2 then.
Yeah, which is directed by Pierre Coffin and Chris Renaud. Let's
call the whole thing off.
Yeah. The two of which are actually apparently the voices behind the Minions that you heard there. In this movie, you've got everyone back sort of voicing the character. Like Steve Carell returns as Gru, the once supervillain who is now a good guy. He's not interested in being a supervillain anymore. He's interested in just making a whole bunch of jams and jellies and starting out a normal business. He is then approached by Lucy, voiced by Kristen Wiig, who is a member of the Anti-Villain League, a group who defeats enemy supervillains, and have approached him to ask him to actually come and work with them because he knows how villains works, how supervillains think, and be able to help them to solve a riddle of some kind of this goo that's been created that creates monsters very easily. And so he's approached to actually help them find out what's happened, where this goo is, who's created it, and who it is. Here's a clip.
Shannon here with me. I was thinking you two could get some grub. You know, tear it up. See what happens. Open up.
Agnes, tell Jillian I'm not here.
Gru's not here.
Are you sure?
Yes, he just told me.
Mm-mm.
I mean, no, he didn't just
Agnes, where's Gru?
He's putting on lipstick. He's swatting out flies. He's chopping his head off. He's pooping?
So you have the usual thing of all the characters are back. You heard the daughter, one of the 3 kids that he's adopted. He's now an actual kind of loving parent to them, looking after them and everything. When at the same time he's then sort of enticed back into his super villainous ways to be a superhero kind of and become a good guy. The thing is with it, Despicable Me is one of those animations that it is a brilliant animation, but largely because of the minions, which just crack you up anytime you watch it. I defy anyone to watch it and not laugh at the minions. And what they've done is with the second film is they've taken the same kind of thing. They've not done anything exceptionally brilliant. I mean, it's not the same thing as Despicable Me. It's not a Pixar level animation, a Pixar level story, but it just has so many boxes ticked in the right place that it just works brilliantly. You will laugh through most of the film. There's bits in it to do with the minions especially, which are just hysterical and brilliantly played out, and they've focused on that. The minions don't take center stage, but the minions just pop up a lot in the background and pop up bits here and there, and they do a lot more. That you're more than entertained with the story there is, but you're even more entertained with what the minions do, and they're stupid and they're fun, and you just absolutely love them. It's well animated. What more can you say about it? It is all the boxes ticked in the right places, and you'll love it. It's not going to be, like I said, up there with the likes of Pixar's Toy Story and things like that, but it's as fun. It's got all the right things and the right elements to make it work, so that it's just I loved it, and I know that anyone else, I saw it in the cinema that wasn't packed, but it had a few people in it, including adults and kids, and everyone was laughing.
I'm going to see it tomorrow during a Tuesday screening because it's only £3 at my cinema tomorrow, and I'm actually not going alone. I'm going with a family and a 5-year-old kid as well. And so this will be the first time I'll have actually been to the cinema in quite a while, taking a kid as well. And so it's a U-rated film, and I think I'm probably going to enjoy it more than him.
There is one thing I want to say, actually, just thinking about it. One thing in it which kind of, I was like, did they have to be like that? And I get it. It's a kid's film, and there's a villain in it, and the villain makes lots of references. And I only say this because when I was watching it, I heard a kid in the cinema say something regarding it. I can't remember exactly, but I heard them say something, and it's that the villain says, "I am going to kill you," or "I will kill them," and he actually says "kill" a lot, and it kind of it feels a little unpleasant. And if you get people taking their kids to see a film like that, and then a kid questions, who's going to kill someone? What's kill? And for a kids who haven't grasped that yet, that might be an issue. But other than that, everything else in it perfectly fine.
Yeah, see, if it was me, I would just say, see this kitchen knife that I got on my hand? If I stab it at that person just in front of me and they die, I've killed them. But that's just me anyway. I've got to.
That's but you're going to say that to like a 5-year-old. You'll probably get the police call on you or something.
Well, Michael Myers was just an icon for me at the age of 3. So what do you expect?
Yeah, you're a bit warped, but sort of opinion.
A bit what? That's an understatement. I had knives dangling above my bed. I was the baby out of the Addams family.
Oh, you no, I was going to say you're Pugsley, but you're not. What is the baby's name? I can't remember what the baby's name was.
Pubert.
Really?
Yes.
No, I would go with Pugsley. That's a better name.
Pubert was the name of the baby out of the Addams family, unless somebody corrects me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it's Pubert. Right, I think I'll better get on to the next film then. Yeah. This is the end. It's written and directed by Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen, and it stars a whole host of people. But it centers at the start of the film. Jay Baruchel, who's gone to visit his pal Seth Rogen in LA. He goes there over time. See, it was Pubert. Thanks, Dalek. He goes there all the time just to visit him, and he wants to just hang out with him. They hang out with each other, and Seth says that, well, there's going to be a party at James Franco's house. Why don't we go there? Reluctantly, he decides to go to the party, and so he goes to the party, doesn't enjoy himself. He bumps into Jonah Hill, who he thinks is a bit of a kiss ass, to be honest. And during the film, he is actually that. He's if you know what Jonah Hill's like, he's sort of like reverse. He's an arrogant person, but he's reversed in this film. He's trying to be as nice as he possibly can. So at this party, you've got loads of stars, including Rihanna and James Franco's there, like I said. You've got Danny McBride and Craig Robinson, Emma Watson. Michael Cera's there, who's probably the funniest thing about the entirety of this film. And so Gia decides to go, I want a bit of time out from this party. He goes to the convenience store to get something, a few bits and bobs. He takes Seth with him. While at the convenience store, these blue lights come down from the sky, and the apocalypse has happened. They run back to James Franco's house, tell everybody what's going on. They don't believe them at all. And then earthquake happens and panic starts to ensue. And all that's left is a few people inside James Franco's house to try and survive what is the apocalypse. Here's a clip.
The biggest earthquake to ever hit Los
Angeles is urging people to stay in their homes right now, and also reports of looting and rioting are spreading across the city. Police are pretty much outnumbered as people are turning to one another. Martial law has now been declared.
Air Force One has gone down.
It's gone, guys.
So I think we should probably go back to your place, eh?
What are you talking about, man? No way. I'm not leaving here.
I don't want to die at James Franco's house.
We need to stay here until they start rescuing people, okay?
A huge earthquake happens. Who do they rescue first? Actors.
Famous people.
They'll get Clooney, Sandra Bullock, me. If there's room, you guys will come. The point is that we're all gonna get out of this first.
And so, like I said, the people who were left inside of James Franco's house is Jonah Hill, James Franco himself, Seth Rogen, Gia Baruchel, Craig Robinson, and Danny McBride, who pops up a little bit later on in the film, and then Emma Watson, who makes a fleeting appearance. They have to try and survive inside this house, but everything, they go completely stir crazy, mainly because there's very little water, there's very little food, etc. The thing with this is the end. A lot of critics have been turned around and seeing that it is sort of like this brilliant comedy. It's the best comedy of the year. It's completely laugh out loud from beginning to end, and it's just brilliant, and everybody should see it and have a good laugh at it. It sort of is that, but isn't. It's not the brilliant comedy that a lot of people are making it out to be. There are funny elements in the film, but because I can't stand Danny McBride, the second that he pops up, everything that he sees, I just want to punch him in the face. Because he is completely the arrogant character that he is. He plays himself. He does actually play his arrogant self in the movie. All the gross out jokes from the film, there's a couple here and there from Seth Rogen, but all the gross out jokes comes from his mouth. And that's literally and figuratively.
Well,
and I think
not just
there.
From his mouth.
Yeah, exactly. So it honestly, all the gross out humour comes from him. It dials it up to 11 when he's on screen. When he's off screen, that's when I actually found it more funnier without him. They could have just thrown him out into the apocalypse and he would have been killed, and it would have made a much better film. So without Danny McBride, I think I would have laughed a little bit more. With him, it just toned, the tone just went, it just disappeared. It's not too bad, but it's not the brilliant comedy that a lot of people are making it out to be. There are funny elements in the film, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was good.
I just wanted to add on there, because I mean, I saw this as well in a packed cinema, and I was laughing for it, and I did like it. I liked the first hour, because it's almost 2 hours long, but I like the first sort of hour and a quarter, maybe hour and a half, and then it starts to really go downhill, because it starts to become one of these films that then becomes like a parody of itself and doesn't really know what it's trying to do to wrap up the ending. And the ending is where it has a big problem, because it just goes up until then. It's a weird movie, because I mean, it's the apocalypse. It's not a serious film, but it's done in a, or it is seriously the apocalypse. It's the end of the world and all. But then it gets to the end, and the last half hour then becomes seriously, it's like a spoof. It's like a bad spoof, and it doesn't know what it's doing.
It becomes really arrogant in the last half an hour of the film, because then you might as well say that the actors who are in the film, their heads grow about 50 sizes too big, because it becomes so arrogant, and the Backstreet Boys pop up, and anytime when the Backstreet Boys pop up, you've got a really bad ending there.
I was perfectly fine up to that point. If it hadn't had that ending, it would have been better. But I mean, it's not a bad watch. It's a good watch with a crowd. I don't think it would be as good a watch if it was just like you watching it yourself. I don't think it would be as funny.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Hummingbird, or as it's been released, because it's also been released this week in America, the same week as Redemption, is a movie that stars Jason Statham. It's written and directed by Stephen Knight. It stars Jason Statham as Joey, who is a veteran of the military. He's been in either, I don't think it actually says where it is, either Iraq or Iran, somewhere like that. And he's seen sort of combat and things. He's come back to the UK. He's actually fled from wartime and is running from a court-martial, living on the streets, homeless. Finds himself in a bad situation where he gets beaten up quite badly. Finds himself in a flat that he kind of literally falls into, which is a flat of an actor who is away from London in the States, working on holiday or working for a long time. He's going to be away, so he kind of takes over this person's life, gets his act together, cleans up himself, and starts to actually then go into trying to live a kind of a good life, while also looking into, there is a friend of his on the streets that something happens to, and he goes to try and find what happened so he can then make amends for it, basically. There's also along the line he's dealing with, because he's been sort of homeless, and he's been at a homeless shelter. There is a nun that goes to this homeless shelter, played by Agatha Buzek, who she is kind of a friend of his, who he does start to kind of have romantic feelings for. Here's a clip.
I'm in a silk dress in an alleyway with a gangster. And I'm drunk. Are you still a gangster, Joey, or did I change you?
Just having a crazy patch, too. There are things I have to do. When the summer's over, I'll stop.
Because of me, yes? I have to think I'm doing good.
No excuse for wearing a pretty dress.
So the thing with Hummingbird, or Redemption, it's not an action film. There are a couple of bits in it where Jason Statham does have a small fight with some people, and it's very quickly dealt with, because in a professional way, like he's a soldier, so he's got the skills. It's not glorified. It's not martial arts stuff. It's not, a big Hollywood thing. It is literally a case of a guy comes at him with a knife, he disarms him, and that's it. Stops it. It doesn't go on any longer than it needs to. The film, unfortunately, does go on a bit longer than it needs to. It is an hour and 40 minutes, which does feel a bit long for it, and it's a bit more complex as it goes on than it needs to be. It kind of feels like there's too much happening as it goes on. I could have easily done with a couple of threads being taken out, and some footage probably being, maybe 10 minutes being reduced from it. It's not a bad film. Jason Statham is a good It does give a good acting performance in it. And you also got in there, as I say, Agatha Buzek. I'm not sure that's pronouncing her name correct or not, but she's good in it as well, as a nun who is she's kind of conflicted between, she's maybe having feelings for him, but she's also then a nun, and she's struggling with that, as well as that she has something in her past as well, which is pushing her to do certain things too. It's worth seeing if you want to see Jason Statham act. It's kind of like the same thing as you had last week with The Rock, with Dwayne Johnson in Snitch. If you want to see a film that's got an action star doing an acting performance and not an action film, then check this out. And because it's a good kind of psychological performance that he gives in it, and he's kind of a PTSD sort of war veteran. But if you're looking for an action film, this is not for you. This is not what you want to see, because you will not like it.
It is from the guy who did Eastern Promises, isn't it? Wrote it or something. Was involved with Eastern Promises.
I think that he was involved. I mean, Eastern Promises was directed by I forget his name now. It's a big director. Yeah, David Cronenberg. But I'm not sure who wrote Eastern Promises, so it's possibly that he did. I'm trying to see if I can.
I know it's got something to do with Eastern Promises on the screen.
Yes, he did write the screenplay for it. So I mean, it kind of to that end has a gritty the underworld of London. It doesn't involve Russians in this one, but it does have that same underworld of London and the illegal side of London. And it's very gritty in that. It looks very good for that, but it just, for me, was just too much in it by the end of it.
And it didn't do very well at the US box office, didn't it? Because it was only open on 16 screens.
Well, the thing is, well, in the US, it got released on pay-per-view, on video on demand, they call it over there. So I'd be curious to find out if it's taken much money at all from that. I guess they'll see if it did well or not, and it'll shine the way for other things. I mean, it's a small British film, so it's got given probably more of a respectful release in the States than other British films. I mean, we were talking during that clip, Byzantium got released in cinema, but only on 8 cinemas in the US. So it's had twice as much screen releases and also video on demand release too.
We'll see how We're in England does as well, considering that that's got a release on everything on Friday. So, right, next film, Stand Up Guys. It's directed by Fisher Stevens. It stars Al Pacino, who plays Val. He's just come out of prison after 28 years in it. He gets picked up by his friend Doc, who's played by Christopher Walken. Doc is told by this guy called Claphans, who's played by Mark Margolis, to kill him. He's got until 10 o'clock the next morning to kill him because he was involved with the death of his son. So during the night, you might as well see the entirety of the movie. It's just sort of like a buddy movie with Val wanting to do things that he's always wanted to do. Doc taking him along, so taking him to a diner, a cat house. They go along to pick up their friend, who's Hirsch, who's played by Alan Arkin, who also asks in the car what he would actually like to do. Here's a clip.
You did your time like a man, Val. You were stand up all the way.
You and Doc would have done the same.
Well, I would like to think so.
It's possible. Either way is possible. But you did it, Val. True. I can't believe you guys didn't work together all this time.
No. Claphans retired us. That was that.
And it was. He can't forgive himself, so everybody else has got to pay.
So what do you want to do now you're out, Val?
I always wanted to finish high school. Learn more about the human condition. How about you, Hirsch? Is there anything in this life that you haven't done that you would like to have a chance to do?
2 girls at the same time.
That's very doable, no, Doc?
Yeah, done and done.
And like I said, the film itself is just about them getting up to strange things. For instance, Val, he's got a problem with his downstairs area when he goes to this cat house place, and so they decide to break into a pharmacy to steal some Viagra. He ends up taking too much of that, and it ends up in hospital, where a needle has to be inserted in a place where he definitely do not want the needle to be inserted. Actually, I think that was one of the only scenes that made me quite smirk in the film, because it was just the look on Christopher Walken's face as he was walking away as to say, I do not want to see this. But I just found the film not funny at all. It was trying to be funny, but if you listen to the clip there, the pace and how they speak, it was like they were on slow motion. They were doing the scenes in slow motion. It was taking them ages to get their sentences out. And I have problems in saying sentences. I can't construct sentences properly. But then I was just going, please just finish your sentence quickly. Christopher Walken, it just sounds like he was reading them off an auto cue, like somebody had them on cards, and he was keep on holding up each word at a time to read it off. It's Al Pacino has just done really safe films over the last few years. His career has just gone downhill. He chose to do things like Jack and Jill, and I don't know why anybody would choose to do something like that. And again, it's another movie where he's just thinking, I can do anything now because I've got a lot of money. I just can do anything, which is probably simple for me to do. And that's what he's done here. Christopher Walken, his character's a bit boring. Alan Arkin is probably the funniest out of the lot. It's just I find it boring, to be honest. I didn't laugh at all. Smirked at the needle scene, but that's about it.
I did laugh at a couple bits in it. I didn't sort of big belly laughs in it, but I did laugh at points throughout it, and I kind of enjoyed it. But it's definitely below par the level of film that you'd expect with those 3 actors in it, with Al Pacino, Christopher Walken, and Alan Arkin in it, and should have been a lot better and a lot funnier, and also a lot more coherent, because it kind of babbles a bit as it goes along on certain parts. There's lots of scenes where it kind of just slows down, stops for a minute, so 2 characters on screen can just sit and talk for a minute about nothing. They don't even talk about anything. And that is a big problem for the film, I think. But I mean, I liked it and I enjoyed it. I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again, because it's not that worthy of a second watch. But it's not as bad as some of the stuff, like we were saying, Jack and Jill, that Al Pacino has been in recently.
It tries to throw a little bit of heart in there as well with Juliana Margulies' character, and also Doc's daughter as well. But I just felt like it didn't work. I think they were just pandering to people wanting to add a little bit of heart into the film.
I'm going to go on to The East, which is the thriller from writer and director Zal Batman Glige. Which
he actually has Batman in his name.
Yeah, he does. It's actually his name starts with Batman.
Awesome.
Yeah. He is a co-writer on it, along with Britt Marling, who also stars as the main character Sarah in the movie. A woman who is she's a former FBI agent. She's now working for this private sort of security and intelligence company, where she has been training and is looking at possibly going on a mission to investigate this eco-terrorist group calling themselves the East. There's a moment in the film where she is brought into her boss's office and is interviewed by her for potentially going ahead with this undercover role to investigate the East. Here's a clip.
Who would you choose?
Me. I'm unexpected. Being unexpected is the only advantage that matters. You chose Tom.
Why do you say that?
He's your last interview.
You remind me of myself at your age. Smart enough for it to be a disadvantage. You haven't failed at anything yet. Not really. That kind of arrogance is dangerous. They'd smell it on you.
You know, I've been researching this field exclusively for 9 months.
You had a goldfish as a kid?
Sure.
So you remember taking it home? You had to float the bag in the aquarium, gradually letting the water in little by little, so the fish can adjust.
Okay.
Don't follow your ego out of the bag early. That's how you end up dead. You put your first choice in the middle, because to put it last is expected.
So you have there, Sarah goes off and worms her way into this group, which includes in there amongst the other members of the cast. You have Ellen Page is a member in there, Alexander Skarsgård, who is, if anyone's watching things like True Blood now, they will know who he is. We've also got in there Toby Kebbell as well, who makes quite an impressive performance in the film as a man who's suffering. He is a person who's suffering from a side effect of a drug he was given in the army, which is supposedly safe and all, but it causes problems. It causes brain damage, and he is suffering from this form of brain damage from it, which is part of why the East goes out and attacks people like the companies that make this, make loads of money off it, even though it's dangerous. It's really well acted. There are some real good performances in this film, some really good scenes. It is a small budget film, so it has that small budget feel to it, and that small scenes that you have, very kind of slowed down scenes where people are all sort of talking around, but it's quite sort of heightened sense in this film. It's quite well done. There is a bit too much in it. I mean, it's an hour and 50 odd minutes. It's not quite 2 hours, but it needs to really be a little bit shorter. Give it a little bit of a trimming, and it would have been a better film. But there's a lot more in this than I was expecting there to be. And there's a lot of really nice little ideas here and there that pop up, and certain things that happen that kind of keep it being interesting and stop it from becoming stagnant, which is really good. So it's a good thriller. It's a small budget thriller. It looks like a big budget thriller when you see the trailer, and it kind of tries to be at points, but doesn't quite succeed at that. But that doesn't mean it's not good. It's a fairly good thriller.
Right, we've gotten through all 5 films we're reviewing this week. I never thought we'd actually manage to do that with a little bit of time left to spare.
Yeah, no, I was trying to get through that, because then I realised we have something else to play at the end, don't we?
Yeah, but shock horror, I would have thought that we would have probably... I think it was down to the fact that we just raced through the box office top 10, but as you can tell, that's it for the cinema part of the show. We will be back in a moment on Spreaker with the DVD and Blu-ray section of the show. If you listen to us on other places, please leave us a comment. Tell us what you actually think of the show. Make sure you go to our website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk, or Facebook, facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, or on Twitter @Monday Movie Show. Give us some feedback. We want to know what you think about the show. I don't mind if they give us negative feedback. At least it gives us something more to work on, which I got a few suggestions from people. So just give us feedback. That's all we want. And I'm going to play you out with a clip from a movie that's out in a couple of weeks' time. So we'll be back in a moment.
Marshall, can we just talk about this for 1 second? You rescued her. You raised her. You're not protecting her now. You are holding her back.
1, don't you ever touch me again. 2, don't you ever touch me again. Now, you have no idea who the hell I am or where I've come from, and I'm not about to tell you my whole life story. All I need to be to you and everybody on this dome is a fixed point. The last man standing. I do not need your sympathy or your admiration. All I need is your compliance and your fighting skills. And if I can't get that, then you can go back to the wall that I found you crawling on. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir.
Good.